podcast. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to episode 317 of the Purple Rain
Mm.
podcast. And just, I hope you're sitting down for some of these names. A lot of guys you can throw in the apostrophes. Le'Veon Bell episode, Camden Doss, Kenyon Drake, Robert Jackson. Uh, not good. But then you have your Mike Wallace's, and that was really it of who's war number 17 for the Baltimore Ravens. But thank you for coming through this episode, spending your time with us on this lovely Friday Eve, this lovely Thursday evening. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. This guy above me on Instagram or on X at Sutton Def. Me, Instagram simply as10.prod or on X at simply as10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go in there, use code PRP for 20% off your whole order and free international shipping. The best deal on the internet, the best bang for your buck. But we have not talked about a week. News has been kind of slow, but we did get some news recently, past couple of days. So how are you feeling? How are we doing? And about a couple of weeks away from training camp, and those training camp passes go live in 2 weeks, so we're almost back.
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking, Alex. Hope you're doing well as well. And hope everybody here watching the Purple Rain podcast, episode 317, is doing fantabulous. We would appreciate that. If you let us know down below in the chat how you're doing, let us know you're here. We'd appreciate it. All you guys watching on X right now, thank y'all. Shout out to y'all. All you guys watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Subscribe to our channel as well. We'd appreciate that too. Let's see what we got here in the live chat. We got Mod K Dog in here. Says, "Yo, Rain Gang family, what's good on this Friday Eve?" What's going on, Mod K Dog? Jabari Cruz Ellis in the house says, "What's up, Purple Rain Gang?" We got Dre in the house says, "What's up, Purple Rain Gang?" as well. Lisa Ann in the house says, "Hey, Alex and Sutton Def, I'm not happy at all with 10-game suspension for my friend Justin Tucker." So yeah, I mean, we got some things to get into on this episode. That is for sure. I do want to say, hold on, let me see. I agree with Mod K Dog here. Smash that goddamn like button. It's free and it helps out a ton. It really does. It really, really does. Appreciate you for that, Mod K Dog. But yeah, like you said, we have not been here for a week now. It's been a week since we talked, and it's been kind of a slow news cycle, especially for the Baltimore Ravens. But I mean, what can you really expect like mid June, late June? Going into early July, like the time between OTAs and training camp, it's normally very slow, right? But here we are with a news cycle, and we're gonna talk about it because the NFL, it never sleeps apparently. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic. What's going on? Showcase FTR says salute to you as well, brother. Let's get into our first topic of the episode. Justin Tucker. You
Mm.
guys can see Justin Tucker is right here behind me, actually, on my calendar wall. So unfortunate the month of June had to come with Justin Tucker. Also very ironic as well. Don't know who July is holding, but we will see next month. But yeah, man, Justin Tucker. I don't want to get into too much of it because I want to let my guy Alex talk about the whole news story and things like that. But man, am I guess you could say kind of relieved, that the Ravens released Justin Tucker, and I know Lisa Ann's not happy about that. But Alex, go ahead and take it away. What's going on with Justin Tucker currently?
Yeah, so he has been suspended 10 games now by the NFL officially. And one thing I think that stuck out to me was no really appeal or no news of an appeal. I think he's just going to hold that 10-game suspension and accept it. And before we talking about it, I do want to just kind of give the comparison of what Deshaun Watson got, so we can kind of base it on something. So
Yeah, yeah.
initially, Deshaun Watson got a full year suspension, but he appealed and they settled on an 11-game suspension and a $5 million fine. And he also was required to undergo mandatory evaluation and treatment as part of the settlement, and then could not use any outside massage parlors. So had to be in house with the Cleveland Browns or with like an NFL organization. So
Hmm.
now we have that to compare it on. 10
Yeah.
games, which for all those allegations, I believe no fine. I mean, he's not on a team, doesn't really have a salary, kind of a slap on the wrist in my opinion. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse. Thought it was gonna be maybe a year, but you can see why the Ravens released him. and I'm like I said, I'm relieved that he's not our headache to deal with right now because I think this team has a lot bigger goals than just dealing with his situation. So unfortunate for him. Hopefully he can go through life and kind of sit back on what he did or didn't do and get the help if he does need it. But so 10 game suspension for Justin Tucker. There it is, official.
It is official. It is official. What's going on, Sam? I see you in the chat.
Yeah,
Black Daniels, what's going on? Black Daniels says smack that like button. He's absolutely right about that. Make sure you smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you comment on X and let us know that you're in here from X. We never get anybody commenting while they're watching on X, yet we get a lot of viewers on X. So make sure you comment and let us know that you are here from that platform. But listen, man, the first thing you said sticks out to me the most, right? The lack of an appeal, the lack of, contesting this ruling from the NFL really does say a lot about this situation and what Justin Tucker may or may not have done. Because me, as just the regular Joe Schmo here, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all the details, all the evidence, all the facts. I don't. I don't have all the facts. But what I do have is, what has been presented to me to this point. And what has been presented to me to this point is, what is it? 16 different women or 16 different parties have come forward saying something about Justin Tucker, participating in inappropriate acts at, various massage parlors in Baltimore, things like that. The fact that we are what 3-4 months past the initial announcement of this coming out, and the NFL said that, what, everybody sit back, we're going to do an investigation and we're going to come up with our ruling after that. The Ravens got ahead of it. Like you said, the Ravens got out ahead of it, and we dropped Justin Tucker like a bad habit. And now, months later, about a month later, the NFL is coming out and saying, okay, look, we're going to suspend Justin Tucker for 10 games. And I don't think that they would do that for no reason. If they came up with zero findings at all, then I don't think that they would do that. On the flip side, I don't think Justin Tucker, who's already not a Raven, at this point really does not have too much to lose, to be honest with you. I don't think that he would not contest. I don't think that he would elect to not contest this ruling, and I think it was his lawyer, I want to say, who advised him to not contest it and advised him to just, hey, look, take the 10 games and then just kind of come back from there. I just don't know. I don't see a world, and I've always said on this podcast, where there's smoke, there's fire. I do not see a world where Justin Tucker is completely innocent. And if that's the case, then that means he is guilty by default. And that's just how I feel about it. Now, what I want to ask you, Alex, and chat, let us know how you feel about it as well. And somebody says here, the lack of it all makes you go, yeah, Black Daniels said that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dre agrees with us too. But I want to know, do you think, because 10 games, right? He suspended 10 games. I think his suspension starts on August 26th, I want to say, and he's eligible to come back and play after November 11th. I think those are the dates. Do you think that he gets on a team, Alex?
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think as of right now, kicking in the NFL is not. It's not like everybody has a good kicker. I think some teams might get desperate, and I can see him calling them up. I can see. I know the joke's been said. I can see the Cleveland Browns calling him up, and I know people make that, but they've had their kicking troubles since Phil Dawson left. Think about how long ago that was. We were still wearing Reebok jerseys. I can see something like him or another team doing it, but he's still, to me right now, a top 10 kicker in the league. I know he had his mishaps last year, but after the bye week, he was banging them from 50, did not miss an extra point or a field goal. I can definitely see a team picking him up.
Yeah.
I mean, teams picked up Greg Hardy after what we saw, Deshaun Watson, and I think Tucker is a little step below Deshaun Watson because he's a kicker. I don't think he got as much publicity.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I 1000%. I know that somebody will, acquire Justin services at some point this season. And I think that it's mainly because of what you said, right? Kicker is a much more low profile position, right? It's not going to get as much media attention as, say a quarterback like Deshaun Watson and his whole situation back in 2021. But furthermore, I think it's like what week 11 that he'll be slated to come back. Week 11, maybe 12, something like that. Because I think it starts like August 20. Week 11 to 12, something like that, is when he'll be eligible to come back. At that particular point in the season, where seasons are on the line, right? And you may have a team who's like, winning or losing games because of their kicker. Someone is going to go out and acquire Justin Tucker. Now, I did see somebody say on Twitter earlier today, aka X, whatever you want to call it. I did see somebody say, like, hypothetically speaking, what if, I mean, you talk about the Browns, right? What if maybe another AFC team goes out and picks them up, and it comes down to the wire? Maybe we're in the situation where we're playing a team that has Justin Tucker, and it comes down to like a game-winning field goal, right? Maybe at the bank. Who knows? I
Oh,
don't know. I can only imagine the thoughts, emotions, and just kind of like the verbal, the the sound of the stadium, the sound of that stadium. I can only imagine. That's an extreme hypothetical, but it's very, very possible because, again, like you said, Justin Tucker is one of the greatest kickers of all time. I mean, he did what he did, at least from what we know, but we cannot take away the fact that this guy was a very, very skilled kicker. And I don't think that teams are going to let that go by the wayside, especially considering that the Ravens dropped him. And he's going to be looking for an opportunity pretty much wherever he can get it. So I feel like whatever team picks him up, they're going to get a good bargain on him, and he's going to go in there and he's going to do his thing. So it's just it's going to be a weird season for Justin Tucker because it's not even like he has to even be on a team to serve the suspension. So like you said, those 10 weeks, the next basically what 3 months or so, he's going to have a long time, or 4 months, he's going to have a long time to do like some soul searching. You know what I mean? Like kind of figure out, just sit back, maybe heal, maybe get the help that he needs, like you said, and then maybe come back strong in week 11. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. I too says, yeah, but Tucker won't be there mentally, especially if those masseuses start suing. Mm.
that's a good point.
Point. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, and you miss one of those. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of heat on you. Uh,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
people won't forget. I mean, I just pulled up this list of teams that may need a kicker. Um, some of these guys right now that teams have as kickers um, aren't
Oh
really
yeah.
looking the greatest.
Let me know.
The
Let me know.
Panthers right now, Ryan Fitzgerald and Matthew Wright. The Patriots, Andres Borregales and John Parker Romo. Uh, the Giants, I mean, Graham Gano had his troubles last year. Some of these guys, I'm really not.
Sold. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a growth where Joey Sly of the Titans. I mean, I know he's been accurate in his time, but even at him, it's just not looking good for some of these teams. So I can see a team maybe like the Panthers possibly, who I think my hot take is they might be in a playoff position. I think they've done a lot of being around Bryce Young. That could be the difference between a wild card spot and them not making the playoffs. It's
Yeah.
they can sign him and that can help him out, but like we agree he'll probably be on a team come week 12, and I just hope he doesn't have to plan. So
Yeah, man. I mean, not it's not a lot to say on this whole situation because I mean the Ravens kind of, and I think a lot of Ravens fans, including myself, kind of washed our hands of Justin Tucker, and we're totally looking forward to the Tyler Loop, era and whatever comes after that, whatever comes of that. We're waiting on that, but for the rest of the league, this is actually some pretty big news because it's like, okay, we knew Justin Tucker was available, but he is kind of like that keep safe, that kind of like put it in your back pocket move that a GM's going to make maybe later on in the season to go ahead and acquire Justin Tucker, or maybe even early in the season. Maybe somebody snags him early and just says, hey, you know what, just sit on the bench for 10 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the full details of the suspension are. Is he not allowed to just play games, or is he not allowed to participate in team activities at all?
I think it's anything. I'm pretty sure, just like Watson was out the facility, can't be
Mm,
around.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case, honestly, that gives me all the more reason as an NFL GM. If I have any sort of skepticism, like kind of Lisa says right here, she thinks the women are lying about Justin Tucker. I disagree with that respectfully. But if there's an NFL general manager out there who says, you know what, like the precedent was already set with Deshaun Watson, it was set with other players in the past as well. You can come back from doing some bullshit, for lack of better words, right? And we'll pay you. The Browns infamously paid Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million contract while that whole scandal was going on. We'll talk about a little bit, more about that, soon here. But I just think that a GM is going to be like, okay, look, Justin, we know you got a 10-game suspension. We're going to go ahead and pick you up. Just be ready when we call your name. It's like that's all we're asking. Go get the help you need. If you need help, whatever you need to do it. But come week 11, come week 12, we're going to need you. So I definitely think he'll be on the team. Let me see. Max Office says, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of Ravens fans kind of say good riddance. Maybe the Ravens don't have like a zero tolerance policy for, that sort of stuff. But I think a lot of Ravens fans do, especially when it's like 16 different women. That is absolutely insane to me. I think with Deshaun Watson, it got all the way up to like 60, 64, something crazy, right? But even like 16 is like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like that, I just have a hard time believing that is not, true at all. So let me see. Sam says if this was a wide receiver or a quarterback, they would take a punt on a player with this sort of allegations. But given that it's a kicker, no one's taking that risk. I mean, but like what? I mean, what else could really come of it? You know
I
what I'm
have
saying?
one.
Like,
I have.
go
I
ahead.
have some facts right now.
Go ahead.
Brandon McManus was accused of like inappropriately touching, interacting with women on a flight back to the U.S. from London when he was with Jacksonville last offseason. Packers picked him up with allegations. That I know it's 2 compared to 16, but teams, I mean, they'll no pun intended, they'll touch you. I mean, if you're really not making that big of a deal to them. So he's a
Yeah.
kicker. It won't make the headlines. I mean, they'll get headlines, but it's not like Deshaun Watson because you're not paying him $230 million guaranteed.
Right.
I'll
And
probably be like
also, it's going to be
a
in the
guy.
midst of the season. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, it's going to be week 10, week 11. Like, we're going to be looking forward to the playoffs. There's going to be,
MVP
you know, right. There's going to be MVP talks. There's going to be I word news. There's going to be all this. So
trades.
I don't think trades, exactly. So I don't think that it'll be a huge media deal. Like, of course, it'll make the headlines. Adam Schefter will tweet about it. Oh, this team picked up Justin Tucker. It'll go viral for a couple hours, maybe a day or two, basically until the next football game, right? So if it happens on like a Monday afternoon, it'll matter until after Monday Night Football, and if it happens on a Wednesday afternoon, it will matter until after Thursday Night Football. It's going to be one of those sort of things, you know, and so that's all the more reason why I think, again, somebody will acquire Justin Tucker's services at some point. But I'm really glad that they were able to, not the NFL, but the Ravens were able to part ways with him sooner rather than later. That is for sure. But okay, let's go ahead and move along from Justin Tucker here. Enough talk about him. He is no longer a Raven. He is a free agent, and we will see what the league decides to do with him. Now, let's get into something that hits a little bit closer to home. Some news that came out earlier this week, right? About this whole NFL like collusion thing, right?
Mhm.
It's been a lot of talk. It's been a lot of talk about Lamar Jackson and his whole contract situation that was going on in 2023, and were the NFL owners colluding against Lamar Jackson to not give him a fully guaranteed contract that he was asking for. These are kind of sort of like the cliff notes, if you will, from that whole situation that resurfaced just the other day on the interweb. So new details emerge on Lamar Jackson's contract saga. According to a newly unsealed 61-page ruling on NFL collusion, point number one, Lamar Jackson told general manager Eric DeCosta his phone microphone was broken during their contract talks, which made negotiations even harder since Lamar Jackson has no agent. That's point number one. Point number two, again, these are cliff notes from the document, 61 pages, that is. Point number two, Jackson demanded a fully guaranteed contract before and after the 2022 season. The Ravens offered two considered, quote unquote, guaranteed deals. He declined both of them, and he requested a trade. We all remember that day. That was a crazy day. Point number three. No team contacted Lamar Jackson after he was franchise tagged. He never submitted a list of trade destinations. Point number four. EDC assumed Lamar Jackson was gone until the day before the 2023 draft, when he sent a new offer, which Lamar Jackson immediately accepted. And this all came out in the collusion case documents that the NFL and NFL Players Association did not want to be public. So basically what was revealed here on, I think it was Tuesday morning by Pablo Torres along with Mike Florio on NBC Sports or whatever. Basically, what they were saying is that the league, the owners in the league, and the NFL itself. So Roger Goodell, we're talking about Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell basically told owners like, "Hey, look, like, get together and come up with the idea that you guys are not going to give veteran players fully guaranteed contract for whatever reason, because it may hurt the league down the line, whatever. Alex, I want to come to you on this. I want to ask you, like, what did you take away from all of this, NFL collusion and the new information about Lamar Jackson's contract negotiation in 2023? What did you think of all this?
I think that was our most used word from like February to April 24th of 2023, I think, was the word collusion or collude or colluded in some sense. Uh, I don't think we're really surprised. We knew that. We all knew that the whole fully guaranteed contract given by the Browns was kind of stupid, especially to him because we knew it would never be given out again. And surprise, surprise, 2, 3 years later, still haven't seen one. Uh, with that being said, though, for other teams to just not reach out to him, I think is blasphemous. But at the same time, we all know that if they were to offer him a contract, we could match that or, let him walk, but we were always going to match it. So unfortunately, the way that the standard and the rules are written, he was kind of in a pretty bad spot altogether, and he was lose lose for Lamar essentially. Not in the fact he wasn't getting paid, but it wasn't going to be fully guaranteed. So we're not surprised. I don't think you're surprised. We kind of knew this was happening, but now just hearing it official, um, not really that shocking.
No, not shocking at all. I was actually kind of low key offended that this was considered news, to be honest with
Yeah,
you, because again, this is all information we already knew all the way down to, the point of NFL owners or just the NFL in general, like Roger Goodell, the commissioner, and those guys up high up in general. Those guys want to keep the biggest pie for themselves, right? Piece of the pie for themselves. Like it's no surprise that multi-billionaires who are at the head of like $1 trillion industry want to make sure that their bottom line is protected and that the precedent is not set that players get to come in and basically make their own price. You know, that is surprise, surprise. I mean, like, listen, man, if you go in and you get a job at Walmart, right, you don't get to walk into your interview and say, hey, look, this is what I want to be paid. I want to be guaranteed to get a pay raise in 3 months. I want to be guaranteed this, that, and the third. That's just not how it works. You know what I'm saying? Even like the high ups, if you're a manager, if you are a district manager, that's not how it works, right? At the end of the day, the people who are at the top of the ladder are going to make sure that they are getting the biggest piece of the pie. So, I mean, and again, I was kind of offended low key that Mike Florio is trying to push this so hard as news, as breaking news that everybody should care about. Because listen, man, the average person who watches the NFL does not make even $100,000 a year in salary. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people make less than that. So like, how dare you try to get us to care whether or not, I don't know, like a Trevor Lawrence makes 70 million more dollars guaranteed on top of his 130 or not? We just don't care. Okay? It's June, so I know you have to kind of grasp to straws about things to cover, but at the end of the day, man, we know that corporate greed exists in America. It's not just the NFL. The NFL is a very small microcosm of that, right? So it's like, why do you expect us to care? For one, that's number one. Number two, again, we do not, we're not getting any new information on the whole Lamar Jackson contract situation. About the most newest information that we've gotten is the whole, which is kind of weird to me. And let me know how you feel about this. Lamar Jackson, as you know, does not have an agent. It came out that his microphone, Lamar Jackson's phone microphone, was messing up, right? It wasn't working, and that's why he wasn't able to effectively communicate with Eric DaCosta about their contracts, about the contract situation, which makes absolutely zero sense, almost negative sense to me. I mean, if you know how an iPhone or an Android smartphone works, you would know. Stop, boy, stop. It's okay. You would know that like if your onboard microphone isn't working, you throw in your AirPods, you do something, right? Or hell, you even go on your iPad, you go on your MacBook, your laptop, whatever you got. You go to the library. Who cares? You call from somebody else's phone, your mom's phone. You know what I'm saying? With like, I thought that that was a bunch of BS. I don't know if it's necessarily BS on Lamar Jackson's end or EDC's end, whatever. But what did you make of that?
I hope it's not true because it's very petty, but it's kind of funny at the same time. Like it's somebody you just don't want to talk to. Oh my microphone's not working, or I don't have any service, or you just put your phone in airplane mode. They can call you and just go straight to voicemail. We've all done that before, for at least somebody. I know I have. But at the same time, though, I remember EDC talking about he was watching like the Celtics finals game, and like he sent Lamar like a final contract offer, and like that was the one Lamar said we can talk about this, and then that was the one that really got the deal over the line. So I mean, there definitely is some truth to it, but I just don't see what him saying his microphone not working. It's I don't know. I see Sam here said Mike Florio was like Jameson just on the national scale. That's kind of about right. I mean, Jameson loves stirring the pot up. You can tell with his questions, and I think even when he asked Lamar about his most recent contract, Lamar just gave him a look like, "Really, Jameson? Like we're
Like, come
we're
on,
really
bro.
gonna do this?" Yeah, because you're the same one who's like very quick to always call somebody out on something. So I want to believe it's not true, but at the same time, Lamar is a troll. I can see him being petty like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I could see him being petty like that too. Like basically saying like, if you're not talking money, I don't want to talk. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those sort of things. And Lamar Jackson, it was also revealed. And I don't know exactly how true this is, but they said that Lamar Jackson has sent a text message to Eric DeCosta saying like, I want a fully guaranteed, in all caps, fully guaranteed contract. And I know that y'all don't want to do that, basically. And like that's okay. That I don't know if like the all caps was like actually a part of what Lamar Jackson said. I mean, it would really speak to how disgruntled he was about the situation. I think the whole, him saying his microphone doesn't work and then coming out and requesting a trade on X, like that also speaks to him being disgruntled. Again, all information that we already knew. Um, but I'm just in hindsight, it's really like a thank God. You know what I mean? Like we were on the precipice of not having Lamar Jackson at the helm of quarterback, and we could be looking at a totally different situation right now for the Baltimore Ravens. So again, to me, it was kind of like a story slash non-story, the news that broke this week. I mean, we knew all the stuff about Lamar Jackson's contract situation minus a few little tidbits of information. um, but the bigger picture, right, that people, that I think Mike Florio and other people are trying to bring to the forefront right now is that, oh, the people at the top of the NFL, the owners, they're working together to make sure that players don't get fully guaranteed deals. And so let's just stay there really quick before we move on, excuse me, to our next segment. Alex, what is your take on fully guaranteed deals? Do you think that there is a world where that hurts the NFL? Or do you think it really doesn't matter, especially with the TV deals and all the new influx of money coming into the league? Where do you stand on that?
oh, that's a good one. I do think it hurts the NFL. I don't think every player should be getting one. There are guarantees that they're already going to make. I think it's going to mess up the cap, unfortunately. I don't think that's why we will see it. Um, the cap already as it is so intricate. There's so many workarounds. Fully guaranteed. I don't think there's no getting around it. You're going to be paying that, and GMs I think don't want to pay it because it's going to mess up the cap, um, and same like owners as well. So let's say you pay somebody a fully guaranteed contract, and think about the guys who have gotten paid and then just absolutely just just flunk. We've seen them many times. Look at Kenny Galladay. He got 70 mil as a receiver. Imagine that's all fully guaranteed. And I just don't think the GMs will give that out. So, I for the players' sake, I'd love to see it, but it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that the way that we have to look at it, we have to look at it from an ROI, return on investment standpoint, right? Like you wouldn't go and invest in a stock or whatever, or you wouldn't invest or you wouldn't make a sports bet or whatever if you didn't think that there was like, or if you didn't know that there was going to be some sort of like, return on it, right? I just think that that's the way that these owners are looking at it, on top of the fact that they want to protect their bottom line as well. They don't want to be giving out these, fully guaranteed, hundreds of $1 million of contract deals, which is only going to go up as the cap goes up as well, as we get all this new, again, influx of cash into the league. So I agree with you, but Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it's good for the league either. I don't think it's the right precedent to set. But I just don't. I also don't think that mass media should expect the average fan to really care and jump up out of their seat about whether or not a multimillionaire is going to be guaranteed more multi-millions. You
Yeah,
know, like that's just not kind of like the that's not the problem of the consumer. We just want to watch the games,
yeah.
right? So
I
that's
think
where I'm
the
at.
only
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
sorry, the only fans who care about that, I think, are the fans who are, like, online, who are on, like, these social media apps because they get all the information. We get the full, breakdown of the contract. You watch NFL live on like ESPN, they'll break it down to you, but they're not going to go, year by year. They're not going to go what the bonuses are. We see it all on Twitter and such. So I think that's why our niche and our group of people who are watch this care about it. Now you can go out to some, go to like a fan of the game, ask them if they know what the contract breakdown is. They're not going to know.
Yeah,
They're there to watch the game. They'll know, oh, he's paid a lot of money, 200 some mil. They're not. I think me and you and guys on here, we know because we just take all the information in and just live by it and talk about
yeah, yeah. Honestly, like I can't even get mad at like when it comes to like contract situations and the money, the massive amount of money that's being thrown around in this industry. I could kind of make more of a case for being upset. Let's say like Lamar Jackson is what the tenth highest paid quarterback in the league currently right now, something like that, somewhere around there. I could be more mad about that, than the fact that he's not going to get 30 or 40 or 50 million more guaranteed.
it.
But
Yeah,
even that, just the way that the league is set up now, all you have to be is an average quarterback, and you're gonna, when it's your turn to get paid, you're gonna be top. You're gonna be top of the top, and that's just kind of how it goes. But again, how much guaranteed dollars that these guys get, it's just not a huge concern for the average fan. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. Omega 21 in the house says Purple Rain. The Ravens never deserved Lamar Jackson. I mean,
mm,
you can make arguments for it. You can make arguments for it. I mean,
I
they didn't even draft him first in 2018, so it's like or 2017. So I get it. I get it.
I'm not gonna say the Ravens per se. I think we'll talk about our next segment, but I think there's certain figures in the organization that did not make decisions at a time when they should have, and they kind of just left things happen until they got too stale. And we'll talk about it with our next one because it kind of all it all it interchanges in the next segment.
It does. It does. Before we get to our next segment here, 2K Saw says, "Go Birds, the bald ones." I see you in here. I guess you're an Eagles fan. Let me see what else. Dre in the house says, "I hate to say this, but lately Eagles fans have been super irritating with this Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson stuff." Now, me personally, I don't know about you, Alex, but I have not seen any discourse online about Jalen Hurts being a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. I've seen more discourse about Jalen Hurts not being top five or even top 10 quarterbacks in this league, which I think is asinine. If you ask me, I mean, to put him not, if you don't want to put him top five, sure, fine. But to leave him out of the top 10 when this man has been to two championship games and outperformed Patrick Mahomes in both of those games and won one of them and damn near won the other and made some really really good throws, had some good runs in both of those games. How do you discount that? How do you discount that and say, "Oh, well, Justin Herbert, he just looks the part." You know what I'm saying? Like Justin Herbert puts up stats every single year, right? But he's not even winning playoff games, right? He's getting walked down in playoff games by Trevor Lawrence. Like I don't understand how we can put so much disrespect on Jalen Hurts' name when he's done what he's done. I don't care if he's got the roster. That's not his fault. Right? He's made the plays when they've asked him to make the plays. He does not make the mistakes that a lot of these other quarterbacks make out here. He's just a solid quarterback. I mean, what are we really talking about here? I mean, okay, for everybody out there who does not have Jalen Hurts in their top 10 quarterbacks, I would also then assume that you put a guy like Brock Purdy above Jalen Hurts, which makes no sense to me. But you know what? I'll stop talking. What do you think about this whole Jalen Hurts overrated, underrated situation? You think he's overrated or you think he's underrated?
I don't think he's overrated. Um, I see people have say he's better than Lamar. I don't really deal with that because I'm not going to go online and argue about who's better, and who's not. I test. I appreciate it. I'm right there with you though. I think he is a top 10 quarterback. That to me is really no debate. Don't care who he has around him. Like I said, it's not his fault. I mean, they drafted Devonta Smith in the first round, and he had to have a good quarterback throwing the ball to develop. Look at the receivers who have went somewhere and didn't have a good quarterback. And we always blame the quarterback. Oh, they don't have a good one. You know, so to me, he's a top 10 quarterback easily. Um, I don't get the debating and such. I really don't. I mean, if you want to debate, go for it. But to me, he's top 10 quarterback. Probably in my argument for a 5, I'll be honest, probably as the 5th quarterback. We can make that a whole segment, a whole other show when I can dive deep in the stats. But as of right now, he's a damn good quarterback, and he shows up. He has shown up in his 2 biggest games of his career. He has shown up at the Super Bowl, and that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, literally. That's all you can ask for. Almost 70 people watching live right now. Thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode 317 of PRP. Let me see. Dre says, I think Hurts is top 10, but to say he's better than Jackson, Allen, or Burrow is crazy. LOL, the video that Lamar Snap dude was tweaking. Yeah, I mean, he's not better than any of those guys. Those upper echelon, Mount Rushmore of current quarterbacks, he's not better than any of them.
Like in that instance, that guy should be a Ravens fan and a Lamar fan for now for even giving him 2 seconds of like fame or clout. Like you should have a Lamar jersey on you because Lamar just gave you as much exposure as you're ever gonna see. I
Yeah.
still believe some podcast Mike should have some tariffs on them because not everybody should be talking anymore. A lot of this rage bait. Unfortunately, man, they just want to say stuff to get people mad, and it works. It got Lamar mad. Now look at
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I see in the chat here, Hurts is 100% better than Joe Burrow. That is the hottest of all hot takes. I will tell you that. I'm a big Burrow guy, so I don't agree with this. I think if you put Burrow on that Eagles roster, I mean, he's got maybe 2 Super Bowls right now. I don't know. But at least one, I think. And the fact that he made it to the Super Bowl with that Cincinnati Bengals roster, granted their defense was really good that year. Of course, young Chase and everything like that. But I've always said it, man. Joe Burrow is just like an ace of a quarterback. He's got sneaky athleticism, sneaky size as well. But he's just an ace. I mean, he knows exactly where to go with the ball. He's super accurate, processes, sees the field really well. He's got all the tools, right? But Hurts has just reached a higher high than Joe Burrow. So I think that in terms of skill, I'm gonna go Burrow. But in terms of like just kind of overall, I put Hurts one below Burrow. I put him one below Burrow. I would. Okay. Let's go ahead and move right along here into our last topic of this episode 317 of PRP. Make sure you guys like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Subscribe to our channel as well. If this is your first time tuning into the Purple Rain podcast, again, my name is Sutton Def. That is simply AS10 right there below me. We do this pretty much every week. It's off season, so news is kind of slow right now, but you can always go out, go to our channel and check out the YouTube shorts. There's always some of that coming out pretty much every single day, so make sure you stay tuned in to PRP. But okay, there was an interview that was put out earlier today. It might have been yesterday, but I saw it earlier today, this morning. Anquan Boldin, former Ravens wide receiver, was getting interviewed by somebody, but he had some things to say about that 2012 Ravens team and what it really took for the Ravens to really pull that one out. And it was very insightful. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hear what Anquan Boldin had to say.
That Super Bowl run with the Baltimore Ravens, now you brought him up.
That was crazy. A lot of people don't know it was a lot of drama going on that year.
Really?
Oh yeah. We got into it with the coach again. Some vets in the locker room. It was just, he had his way of doing things, and we felt like in order for us to win, we had to change some of the things that we were doing. Mm-hmm. So, we had some vets in the locker room. We had a come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah.
And it was
gotta have them.
It was uncomfortable for the coaches.
Yeah.
But I felt like after that meeting, you know what I'm saying? they knew where we stood, and you know what I'm saying, they let us rock out. And from that point on, like, you know how you just hit, like everything started hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you started getting in that groove, and then once the playoffs hit,
I know I just talked about comparing, but to me, Anquan Boldin is the best Ravens receiver ever to play for us right now. To don the number
Agreed.
81 in the purple, I honestly think he's the best ever. Now, with that being said, remember I talked about how some decisions could have been made a lot earlier than they have with Lamar. Um, it all goes back to certain people, and one of them is the coach, John Harbaugh. And I don't know if this was the issue back then in 2012, but there's a point where our offense was pretty stagnant. We obviously got rid of Cam Cameron and brought in Jim Caldwell, but we had the better left tackle on the bench in Bryant McKinney. And he was
Yeah.
there because he was in the doghouse because he was lazy, showed up overweight to training camp, and didn't play. He comes in, end of the season, in the playoffs. Joe Flacco gets protected and goes on a crazy run of 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is what he's talking about, but this could be one of the things that, they had this come to Jesus moment. But it's obvious, Harbaugh still kind of has some of those same issues. His doghouse, the better talent is on the bench. We have seen that
Yeah.
happen. Um, I just want to know what they're talking about. I don't know. I need to know like the tell all of like what this was about and the actual issues that got resolved because it worked. I just don't know if those issues are still roaming around the 2025 Ravens locker.
You know, I would love to hear all the details myself. I do see the chat going off here. I see Dre says in the chat, I wonder if Harb still has those issues. I think he does. I mean, like you just mentioned, there's the whole doghouse thing, the better talents on the bench thing. Before I get to any more of that, we got A Woods in the house says, this is my first time here. I like you guys. I usually listen to Lunch Bunch, or are we talking about Lunch Break Hot Take? Not sure. But I appreciate you,
Welcome.
A Woods, for coming through. Welcome through. Welcome to the Rain Gang. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you feel like, if you're feeling up to it. We'd appreciate it. Anyways, thank you for coming through. But back to this whole John Harbaugh, 2012 Ravens team talk. I think that without even, hashing out all the details, because we don't know all the details, Anquan Boldin didn't leave everything on the table there for us to kind of talk about. But I think it says enough that the Ravens had went on that skid in that regular season and their backs were up against the wall. And as Anquan Boldin put it, they had a quote unquote Jesus moment, which is basically like a heart to heart. We are all going to kind of spill out our emotions. I don't care about how it makes you feel. I'm sure you don't care about what you're saying, how it makes me feel. Like, we're just going to put it all out on the table because we have to right now. We have to be as open and honest with each other as possible. Like, it is no, let me just say this. I think guys like Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Anquan Boldin were the last of a certain generation that did not need nor want, coaching staffs to really discipline them, to really motivate them, to really kind of try to lead them. They were leading themselves, right? I mean, we saw what happened after Billy Cundiff missed that kick in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, right? They went right to that locker room, and who gave one of the best speeches of all time? Ray Lewis, number 52, the best linebacker of all time. He was the guy. I don't think we have a guy like that today. And I think that can kind of speak to some of the past playoff blunders. I really do. I don't think that there's that dog in the locker room because guess what? Our best player, as of right now, number 8, Lamar Jackson, he's so great, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy. He's not a Ray Lewis. He's not an Ed Reed and Anquan Boldin who's just going to say, Harbs, like, step aside. That regime of players is gone. Right? I mean, we're talking about kids now who are like our age and younger. Me and Alex are both under 30. Our age and younger. Like, they're not going at coaches, I feel like, in the same way as, some of those dogs were in the past, right? And I think Harbaugh, after winning that Super Bowl in 2012, he woke up on the sunny side of the bed, right? Where he's saying, oh, look, I did it. I did it. Now that we are going to have a changing of the guard here, Ray Lewis retires. We get rid of Anquan Boldin. Ed Reed is gone as well. And then what happens? We stall out for years with Joe Flacco. And then his job gets saved, John Harbaugh that is, by Lamar Jackson getting drafted by, Ozzie Newsome as his last pick in 2017 or 18, whatever year that was. And here we are today, still with no other Super Bowls. We got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, still no Super Bowls with him. I think it speaks to John Harbaugh not being the leader that everybody thinks he is. That might be a hot take. It might be a hot take. What's going on, Jason? We got Huddled Up Films in here. Says, what up, everybody?
So
What's
what's
going
up?
on, bro? Appreciate you for coming through. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to him as well. Yeah, that may be a hot take, but I think that what Anquan Boldin said in that clip, Alex, really does speak to kind of like the lack of leadership in that locker room.
Well, as you brought that up, so I just pulled up. That's why I love Google. You can look up stuff from years and years ago. I just pulled up an article from November 28th, 2012. 2012. So the Ravens were returning from a bye, fresh
Okay.
off of a 43-13 whooping. Harbaugh told the players they were practicing full pads, and the players nearly revolted. Um, so basically, Harbaugh let them all have his say, and he explained himself. And they said several players, including Ed Reed and Bernard Pollard, openly challenged Harbaugh. The meeting soon turned into a back and forth session where the players went to Harbaugh for his perceived shortcomings, and the Ravens' assistants said they never saw a head coach handle anything as well as he did. And some of the things they brought up was his mood swings, treatment of players, and then also the team's no huddle offense was brought up as well.
Interesting.
Mood swings and treatment of players kind of still, because to this day the treatment of players, like, it's in my mind. We've seen it. We can go down the history of guys sitting on the bench who we think should be starting. So that was 13 years ago. Crazy to think about. Some things may have stayed the same, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, but again, man, like I think that nowadays you're not going to have the Bernard Pollards and the Ed Reed stepping up. Like I don't see Kyle Hamilton going at John Harbaugh, right? I don't even see Roquan Smith speaking up and going at John Harbaugh and saying like, hey man, like we get you're the head coach, but we're the players. We're the ones who are ultimately executing out there on the field every Sunday and beyond, right? Listen to us. Right? Like it's so important for a head coach to listen to his players and take stock and take heed of what they are saying, how they are feeling. Because once you kind of lose that relatability, once you lose that trust from your players, you lose the locker room, right? And for a while, I feel like the locker room was lost. Let me see. Huddled Up Films here is kind of pushing back a little bit. Jason says, in fairness, Harbaugh's coaching style has evolved. He seems like a different players type of coach now. What do you say to that, Alex?
I do agree. We've talked about it. We still think there are some guys that aren't getting that fair share because of how they may show up to practice or how they may practice may not be hard enough. And I do agree with the fact if you aren't practicing hard enough, you don't deserve play time. But there is tape out there of certain players playing better, and we just don't see them. I think you bring up a good point about the leaders because they brought up think about that locker room back then. Terrell Suggs as well. He was gonna let you know how he felt no matter who you were or what you were. Ed Reed, Bernard Pollard, Ray Lewis, Anquan Boldin himself. Um, Not sure any other guys on offense that were speaking their mind, but that's kind of all they really gave. And then after that, we went on a 4-0 run after they had this little meeting together. Did slip up at the end, a couple of L's here and there, but that is something we needed along with the firing of Cam Cameron to really jolt our season around. And I bring it up now with I feel like we kept Greg Roman too long. And people, I think it's the reason why we think we didn't build around Lamar the best, because I agree. Why would you want to come here if you have an offensive coordinator who has shown you as a receiver you're not going to get paid? You're coming here to get maybe 1 year, 5 million at most, with a very low probability you get a second contract elsewhere or a multi-year contract. We've seen now with Ty Monken in 2 years, Rashad Bateman has had 2 extensions and just got paid pretty damn good for not even be a wide receiver one on the team in a run first offense.
Yeah. I mean, and Flo knows says here, Harbaugh does not let anybody take control of his team. Ed Reed didn't like him. He left. Raymond may not have liked him, but he did respect him. Respect is more important than being liked for leaders. Yes. Agreed there, Flo knows. Um, Let me put it this way. If we leave the Lamar Jackson era of the Ravens without a Super Bowl ring, I'm not saying two, I'm not saying three, without one Super Bowl championship, I think it falls squarely on the shoulders of John Harbaugh. I really do. Because I just cannot help but think that there is a better way. And again, I'm not in the castle, I'm not in the locker room, but based off of these articles, based off of testimonies from players of the Ravens themselves, right? Based off of what we see in press conferences, based off of what we see, just how John Harbaugh kind of moves, right? The mood swings, I can see that, right? The treatment of players, we have seen that before. You mentioned it with the better talent being on the bench, things like that. I just don't know if we're talking about like leader of men, if we had to like rank coaches in terms of like leader of men, based off of what we know, John Harbaugh would not be very high on that list for me. For me, I would honestly have guys like Mike Tomlin, Mike Vrabel, you know what I'm saying? Guys like that, Sean McVay, even guys like that ahead of him. To be honest with you, I think that Harbaugh is a little bit tone deaf at times, and I think he just kind of goes through the motions a little bit. You know, when I just don't know. I just don't feel like he's striking the iron while it's hot with this team. The roster again this season is better than it probably arguably has ever been. This 2025 Ravens on paper is arguably the best Ravens roster that the Ravens have ever had. So I just I don't know, man. It's so I hate it. I hate it because I know in October, Alex, we're gonna be sitting around talking about how we'll probably lose some random October game
Yeah,
to
that's
or
why I have
November
the
game.
Browns. I have the
Yeah,
Browns beating us for that
you know
reason
what I'm
only.
saying?
We gotta get
That
that one bozo loss out the way.
that one bozo loss, and I don't know, maybe it leads to another loss somewhere down the line, and we're kind of questioning ourselves, about how good this team really is, and you know, I think again there has to be some accountability on the head coach, and we say it all the time. I mean, he was getting ready to up and be fired back in 2017 from Steve Bisciotti until Ozzie Newsome came in and said, "Hey, look, we're going to draft Lamar Jackson with the 31st pick," and the rest was history, right? But yeah, man, just interesting stuff from Anquan Boldin there, basically saying like there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of tension that year, a lot of pressure. They say pressure makes diamonds. I feel like we need some of that pressure in the locker room this year. Anquan Bolton talked about, guys held each other accountable. You
Yeah.
know, I imagine if that Andrews drop would have happened on the 2012 team. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine how much stronger Mark Andrews would come back. Imagine. I just don't. I mean, we're speaking all hypotheticals here,
Yeah.
but I just think that there's a toughness that this team has lost over the years, and that's why they have not been able to really get over the hump.
I'll say this: I didn't really have that many problems with John Harbaugh last year. I thought he coached very well. Um, didn't think he really got out coached many times. I think it was unfortunate the way we went out. Obvious reasons. I don't think it was coaching that lost the game. I mean, a little bit in the fact that I think we could have ran Henry more in the Bills. It was a snowy game. I mean, hell, we were at halftime against the Patriots in 2012. We were down 6. That was the first time that the Brady-led Patriots, I think, at home lost a game when they were winning at halftime. You know, so there's that. But I think there really is no excuses this year. Um, and as for the Harbaugh stuff, I would love to see him win one more and go out on top like that. He's been our greatest head coach of all, I mean, ever. Gave us some really good moments, and I think he has kind of fixed his ways in some sorts, compared to how he was, I think, after the Super Bowl, those couple of years, and then the first couple of Lamar years. But he's kind of been through trials and tribulations with this team now and the Lamar era, and I think he knows. So I just hope that we can get through it all. But my one biggest gripe is I think he's scared of Andy Reid. I really think he's just scared of him. I don't know why. He treats him like that, that bully that you never could beat, and he plays him scared every time. I don't know what
Yeah,
it is. I really don't know what it is, but that's my biggest gripe now with him. And I don't want him out. I think he's a fantastic head coach. Um, I'm behind him in this team, but that's just my only thing there. Why? Because you learn under him. knock his ass out the playoffs. Show
Yeah, man.
you're taking him over. But
Cutthroat.
yes, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, literally, man. It seems like the team is coming up. The team has come up too small against too many of these big premier teams. Basically, the Bills and the Chiefs. We come up too small against those teams too many times for me to just constantly look at a Lamar Jackson or whoever had a blunder in that game, a Zay Flowers fumble, a Mark Andrews drop. It's like, no, like why do we not look the same? It just does not make sense. Why do we
Every
not
time.
look the same
Every
in the
time.
regular season as we do in the playoffs? I mean, that's coaching to me. That is preparedness to me. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. Um, let's go
Dre
ahead and
has a
end the
question.
show. Yeah, but I said let's go
Dre,
ahead and end the show with Dre's question here. I totally forgot about this. This
I
was
want to
news that
I
dropped
want to talk about this so much.
the other day. So Dre says here, I have a question for y'all. LOL, how do y'all feel about Deontay Johnson's response to why he would not play in the game against the Eagles? So as we know, before I let you go, Alex, news came out yesterday. Deontay Johnson was on a podcast. He basically said in so many words that he did not want to go into that game against the Eagles last year when he was on the Ravens. He did not want to go into the game because, he was quote unquote ice cold. It was 41 degrees that day. He said his legs were cold. He didn't want to go on any, running plays, things like that, because he was ice cold. 41 degrees, mind you. But Alex, what did you think, and what did you make of all that?
Look how you sound, Deontay Johnson. You are a loser. You are a disgrace of an NFL player for even saying that. And you failed the Ravens and all the teammates you had for about 3 games because we could have used you in Buffalo, but your legs probably would have been too cold in that game as well, and you probably would have dropped another pass. That to me should never happen on another team in the NFL. You do not say that because you're playing in Cleveland where it gets cold, newsflash, and you're playing in the AFC North where you already play with Pittsburgh where it does get cold. Um, I try to give him benefit of the doubt. I really tried to. He didn't get the targets, he didn't get the snaps, but after this, I completely get it. Axe him. I'm happy that we picked him up to get an extra comp pick because that honestly, man, you, why do you even say you were stay ready so you don't get ready? Kylan Wallace is the greatest example of that.
Yeah.
It's raining cold at the Rams game last year. We're about 5 degrees from it being snow. And what does he do? Takes a punt back because Devin Duvernay got hurt. He didn't have to get warmed up. He took it back.
Yeah. I don't, for me, the old saying, like, a lot of wide receivers in the league are divas, right? This was a very diva-ish take, but my only issue with it is that Deontay Johnson does not have the production. He doesn't have a certain pedigree to be acting like that, and especially not saying things like this. I mean, the biggest point for me is that he's played in the AFC North for 99% of his career. You know what I'm saying? Being a Steeler, playing for the Ravens, and now the Browns. I mean, he might as well be a Cincinnati Bengal after this season just to kind of round it all out. But it just baffles me that, like, bro, you've played in cold weather games before. Why is it an issue now? Yeah, he quit on 2 teams basically, the Ravens and the Texans last season. It's just not. I don't understand. And Dre says here, facts on he's cool, but he ain't all that. He's just not. I'm like, if we're talking about wide receiver divas, he's like he's not even a diva. He's like a wide receiver, like IG model, like Instagram model. That's the level that he's at. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just not. He's not. You're not putting up the numbers, bro. You're not putting it on tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not putting anything on tape to really warrant you hopping on a podcast with God knows who. I don't even know who was interviewing him, but you're not good enough to hop on a podcast and say, "Oh, look, yeah, I'm not going into the game because it's cold." My dog is even mad at him.
Yeah,
Right? It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous.
it's perfect timing to be honest. It really is. I just we needed you that game because Bateman went down like in the first quarter. We were down most of the game. They took the lead. Like we could have used you, Deontay, and you quit on your team. You quit. So enjoy. Um, the XFL will be calling you probably after this year. You can take your pick. The DC Defenders or the champions. You can play for them. The San Antonio Brahmas. The Houston Roughnecks, Arlington Renegades, Memphis Showboats. I mean, you have your options. Or hey, you can play the Massachusetts Arena Football League with Talia Tagovailoa if they call you up. But the NFL, man, you don't say that. I think about all of us. We were at the Browns game, week 18. It was damn near negative degrees. With the wind chill. They're all playing fine. You have to get warmed up. Mm.
It's like, bro, if your legs are cold, they got bikes on the sideline. Hop on a bike and just like ride. You know what I'm saying? Like until your legs get warmed up so you can go out there, you can run a play. Bro is worried about, oh, I don't want to get on any running plays. I don't want to block. I feel like I'm wasting. Bro, I promise you, we are not looking at you as like the first, second, third, or even fourth option. You know what I'm saying? Go out there. You're making millions of dollars to play a game, my guy. You know what I'm saying? You get to go home to wherever you stay and continue living your life, right? I don't know what his personal life is like or anything like that, but it's just like, bro, this is your job, man. This is your job. Like I couldn't imagine if I was working like, like a warehouse job or whatever job, right? And I said, oh, my hands are cold, boss. Like I can't work today. You know what I'm saying? I think I got to go home, right? I'd be able to go home, but I wouldn't be able to come back.
Yep.
Like that's exactly what happened here with the Ravens. And I don't know. I really don't know who Deontay Johnson thinks he is. I don't know where he gets off saying things like that, but hey, man, Deontay Johnson, the past 365 days for him has been quite the tale, quite the cautionary tale if you are a young wide receiver who, is coming up in the league. That's exactly how you do not act, right?
Yep.
That's exactly what you do not do. But okay, let me see. Love West says, which one is worth his situation with us or Campbell with the 49ers?
Boom's that.
I'm not
I have no idea.
sure. I'm not
While
sure.
we
I'm not
wait for
sure.
that, you bring
Yeah.
up the blocking. On that same Anquan Boldin interview, he mentioned that, when he was in Arizona, the offense would always beat the defense in practice. When he got here, the defense was whooping the offense ass. He mentioned how like he wanted them to run to his side so he could set the tone and block one of, the defensive players like and pancake them.
Right.
Deontay Johnson doesn't want to block. Anquan Boldin does. Two different receivers. Two completely different. That's the difference. And I hate to go back to the old days, but that's kind of how it was, man. Oh, Devontae Campbell who just walked out mid game. At least Deontay was on the sideline.
Yeah.
Campbell just walked out mid game.
Yeah.
I think they sent him off. His is probably worse because you had to go back to the locker room.
Yeah, and just to kind of aside from that really quick, like what you just said about Anquan Bolding and like his want to and his will to go out there and do kind of the dirty work, I think that's the difference between the older age players and the new age players, right? The new age players, they walk around, a lot of them like their shit doesn't stink, you know what I'm saying? And like they can do no wrong and this is what you get. Now I'm not speaking for everybody, but you got a few bad apples. I think Deontay Johnson is one of them. Let me see what else you guys are saying here before we get out of here. Let me see. Flo Nose says, dude, put that interview on tape. Bet that hurt him more than not playing in the Buffalo game, man. Yeah,
Hey,
it's not
you
like
have
it
a
did for
good,
him.
you have a good playoff run, man. Who never knows, what that contract's looking like now.
Yeah.
So,
Let me see. So, okay. I do want to say this before we get out of here. UFC 317 is this week, I want to say. And I want to go ahead and give my official prediction. I do have
put up
Ilia
handle.
Topuria. Yes, I do have Ilia Topuria over Charles Oliveira. I have Ilia Topuria actually winning by knockout in the first 2 rounds of that fight. We'll see if it comes to fruition. You can bet on that. I'm sure the odds aren't even that high because I think that's pretty likely to happen. But should be a good fight regardless. Dre says Ilya for the KO. Yes, sir. I agree. But yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and leave it there for episode 317 of PRP. Thank y'all so much for coming out and tuning in during the off season. We got over 70 people watching live right now. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are watching on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow the X account you're watching this on, which is my account. And then make sure you follow Simply AS10 on X as well. You can follow him on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. Before we get out of here, we got one more coming from Thea Pennell. Thea Pennell asked me right here, Sutton, do you think that John Jones is still the GOAT Yeah, real quick. I started watching UFC because of John Jones back in 2012. Here in the big 2025, I still love John Jones's game. When he's in the octagon, he is an absolute demon. But everything he does outside of the octagon, which I also think matters in the GOAT case, he does not live up to GOAT status outside of the octagon. When it comes to allegations, these scandals, getting arrested, he's going through another one right now. Ducking a guy like Tom Aspinall when he's in his prime and choosing to fight Stipe Miocic, who's way over the hill. That's a choice, and I think that takes away from his GOAT status. For me, I'm still going to go with either GSP, maybe Habib Nurmagomedov, one of those guys. So in short, the panel, I do not think that John Jones is still the GOAT, even though he did retire undefeated. But yeah, Dre says it's been great, y'all. It has.
And
Episode 317 of PRP. Go ahead.
if you are betting with Sutton, if you want to tell his methods of how the fight ends, I just had it up. For a round 1 knockout for Ilya Taporia, it's a plus 260. For round 2, plus 490. FanDuel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't do FanDuel here out in Texas. I can only do Prize Picks, so I'll have to see what they have available on there. But that plus 490 for a round 2 knockout, I could totally see that happening. Maybe the first round is like a feeling out process for Ilya. He's trying to download information on Charles, things like that. But I don't know. That's interesting. Plus 490 in the second round, I could see it, man. But I could also see it in the first round. So either one of those, I don't think you can go wrong with. But yeah, again, this is episode 317 of PRP. With that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through to episode 317 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. As always, stay positive. That's negative.
Yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is episode 317 of PRP. Going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.